Hello, good evening. It is Wednesday, the 16th of March, 1945, 7:45, 8:45. You just check the audio. Hello, good evening. That will ding dong do. I'll share this into a few places and then we shall begin. Certified person, legal personality, strawman, fiction, name, doing business as, and security instrument. It's a bit of a big one. Get yourself comfortable, grab a pen, make some notes, and enjoy. And we shall begin very, very soon. After I shall be with you. splspro.com, Facebook, then to Telegram. All is well. How are you? Seem to be on my own at the minute, talking to myself. Hello to those on the replay. Link goes to Indi Glow, good one. I do like the satire that we have. Bear with me. Apologies. I have a massive document to read you. Mahusive. I believe I've posted that in all the right places. Start video. Ciao. Look at that for a nice, colourful, vibrant, beautiful background. Hello to the 6 that are in. I shall pull up the live chat. Lisa. Hey, hi there, our intrepid autodidactic David. I'm not sure what autodidactic is. I know autodidactic. I'll have to check that out. Gansters, Greg. What? Let me see if I can position you somewhere here. I can see the chat as it scrolls down. Right, I've got some nice backgrounds to go through and share with you. But first of all, let me explain a few areas where you can find us if you're new to this. If this video has been shared with you and you're not a regular, then I shall help you locate this. Let me share screen. Okay, this is my primary channel that I cast from, Indi Glow, INDI space GLOW. You got an icon there with the a bearded king giving a fist bump. So that's where my primary outlet is. Okay, that's unfortunately not going to be active until mid-May, as I shared a video from the House of Commons entitled COVID-19 Vaccine Damage Bill Yellow Card Scheme, and it's been removed because it violated YouTube community standards. It was an exact copy of a talk in the House of Commons regarding that title, what I've just said. YouTube removed it and gave me, my channel here, a ban for 3 months. This is our private foundation, educational charitable trust. There's our homepage. Okay, so you type in splspro.com. You will find an introduction landing page for you there to have a look at, and you may choose to press become a supporter. We would like you to become a supporter and help our private community grow. There's some introductory videos there for you to look at. Should you join, then you would go to activity, and on activity page here is the link for the private Telegram group link that we have. We also have a public open Telegram chat, chirp as I call it there. And if you are anywhere on our pages at the top, this website is designed by Greg, who's with us now, G-Star, as he's commonly known. You would press the blue F, and that would take you to our public Facebook trust, self-titled again. Brother Kelvin, Kelvinius Maximus, Kevin is in there managing that. There's all of the activity and public Facebook posts and interactions we do there. So well done for those that have followed the links and found me here. I shall close Indi Glow down. I don't need to see that page. What we're doing now is stop screen sharing, and I'll get the document up to show you, or I'll read the document. I'll leave that on. Perhaps I might get a more fitting background, and we shall begin. So get yourself comfy, get a pen, a pad, some paper, and write down some notes. Ask me some questions later on if you've got the stamina, if your saturation point is a big, you can take vast and bulbous information overloads, which I'm about to give you. I think there's 90 pages, 26,000 words of this latest document, and not all of you like to read. Some of you struggle with reading. I myself do. Another Jordan Maxwell throat clear there. I've got a nice background for us to start off with. There we go. That one will do. So I know some of you enjoy listening, having me on in the background rather than reading through pages, reams and reams of text. So it's entitled Certified Person, Legal Personality, Strawman, Fiction, Name, D.B.A, Doing Business As, and Security Instrument. So there's a lot here, and it's all linked. It was going to be a short document about persons, and it goes hand in hand with other documents we've done. This document will be made available and put into a zip file hosted on our private educational domain. It will be put into our Facebook group. It will be put into our Telegram groups, and we shall also look at putting a bundle together. Just a USB malfunction. No. And what happens here? It's not what you need. Bear with me. See if I can repair this. Got a loose connection, Captain. Stop beeping. It's not happy. It looks like it's my keyboard. Okay, we can remedy that. We can remedy that. We have the power. Done. No mouse. Heavens to Murgatroyd. That's no USB there. They're all in use. All right then, he says. Still on. Fixed. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. I think my USB port's gone up here. It's given up the ghost. So yeah, we need to go back to basics and recap the person in a nutshell. Let me just say What's happening here? That's the background. Hello, Anders. Merlin's assistant. Hello, hello. Bonjour, mon ami. Ciao, bello. Ciao, bella. Malcolm. Hello, brother. Nice to see you at the Equity and Trust Seminar in Wimbledon. Thank you for travelling all that way, and creator bless one and all that are in the room. Lisa, autodidactic definition, relating to someone learning by themselves rather than being taught by a teacher. Ah, thank you very much. Each one is to teach one, and today you have taught me autodidactic. G-Star and Kevin. I didn't see Kevin there, but okay, thank you for that. The sound is poor. Oh, don't give me. Let me check. Let me check on here. Today you have taught me autodidactic. A bit sketchy, doesn't it? All right, we can see what we can do there. Mic check, mic check. All right then, there's not a lot I can do right now, I'm afraid, initiates, unless I bring it around here, extend it so it's closer to me, move the drink. Your wish is my command. There's no point doing an epic video and a proofread if you cannot hear. Man, let's see if that improves it. Had it all set up perfect, or so I thought. Check on this replay. Let me just check my settings. Let me just restart the microphone. Well, webcam. All right then. I see. We want the blue Yeti. It's on. Using the webcam mic. Go. That should ding dang do it. Fixed it. Didn't need this. I haven't got enough time as it is. I'm up at 5 a.m. to the house of the warehouse. That should ding dang do it. Right. Thank you for that. I'm glad I noticed that. Easy P. We're on. Let's go. You have been warned. This will be a big one. Me. Over the years, one of the most frequently asked questions that I am asked is, where do I start first, David? I've been asked that. If I had £1 every time I'd been asked that, I'd be a very rich man. In the first instance, I always reply, to know thyself. This is the key to unlocking Pandora's legal mystery box. It is essential for one to cognize the various jurisdictions at play, my initiates of self and law, my autodidactic family. Welcome to the attainment of higher knowledge. Aristotle, the man who made significant contributions to every aspect of human knowledge, once said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom, and one would be foolish to disagree. Aristotle's work revolves around the idea that wisdom is practical and not theoretical. Having skin in the game is how we termify that sometimes. He stressed that man is a rational animal and that virtue comes with proper exercise of reason. The relationship you have with yourself is one of the most important relationships you will create throughout your lifetime. Without a fruitful relationship with thyself, how can you expect others to understand or know you? The essence of a happy, fulfilling life begins with a proper understanding of whom you are. Besides the empowerment and freedom that comes with self-knowledge, it allows you to be the master of your opinions, thoughts, and feelings. I do disagree that authentic man or man is comparable to an animal. We are known as creatures of comfort. You know, man is created in the image of the universal creator. We can also reference Anu, Enki, and Enlil, the watchmen. True knowledge of the self is the most beautiful and useful accomplishment you will master in this life and will determine your actions and trajectory. Despite this, we often are infatuated with others, neglecting the beauty and individuality of our own minds. The sooner we embark on a journey of pure introspection and self-discovery, consciously examining and acknowledging our faults and weaknesses, the sooner we turn our weaknesses into strengths. Analyzing our thoughts and becoming conscionable in this woke, awake generation, you know, we have to set, this is my preface into where we're going and the reasons for where we're going, and some little bit of a warm-up historical referencing to, you know, you may have seen the iconic video, my brother Santos of the Bonacci family, Know Thyself, and heard him mention Know Thyself. You may have heard Jordan Maxwell mention this terminology. So increasing knowledge of the self requires reflection, distancing, experience, contemplation, and to some extent, suffering, discipline. One must push their mind past perceivable limits by challenging the conventional wisdom, debating for the sake of debating, and indulging in books regarding the human condition. Here are some of the apostles and authors, initiates that I can recommend. In no particular order of importance, though. Alan Watt, Neville Goddard, Rudolf Steiner, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Billy Graham, Greg Braden, Santos Bonacci, Jordan Maxwell, Helena Blavatsky, Manly P. Hall, Alistair Crowley, H.P. Lovecraft, and Bruce Lipton are just some of the great souls, past and present, that have helped I formulate my opinions and perspective on this subject of knowing thyself, syncretism, synchronicity, and spiritualism. The journey is indeed a humbling one. What journey? The hero's journey, the pathway to enlightenment, the attainment of nirvana. No matter what continent, creed, and belief system you have, there is a journey from being entered into this realm by mum and the waters of mum up until modern day where you are now. By unearthing your innermost thoughts, one loses the sense of entitlement while realizing we is a sticky subject. Homo sapiens, humans are but a tiny speck in the universe, the microcosm within the macrocosm. Homo sapiens originates, is found in Latin dictionary. Wise man is what it would translate to into English. The species to which all modern human beings belong. Homo sapiens is one of several species grouped into the genus Homo, but it is the only one that is not extinct. So you can look at human evolution for yourself. The name Homo sapiens was applied in 1758 by the father of modern biological classification. See taxonomy, Carolus Linnaeus. It had long been known that human beings physically resemble primates more closely than any other known living organisms. But at the time, it was a daring act to classify human beings with the same framework used for the rest of nature. Linnaeus, concerned exclusively with similarities in body structure, faced only the problem of distinguishing Homo sapiens from apes, gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, and gibbons, which differ from humans in numerous body as well as cognitive features. Charles Darwin's treatise on evolution on the origin of species would come 101 years later, and that is still a theory. And I believe all of the evidences that they've looked at with the genome and chromosomes and the biological comparisons is not as accurate and strong as it could initially be. They've gone out on a limb there with that theory of Darwin's. One realizes how little they know about the world and how their accumulated knowledge amounts to nothing. Despite these fears, knowing thyself is the essence of reality and the start of the journey to wisdom. Now, initiates, let us ask the following question. What exactly is a person? Well, we would need to first look at the various dictionaries at hand to determine each language and its implied meaning, definition, and interpretations of persons therein. The legal dictionary of the Law Society, solicitors, lawyers, and barristers, attorneys, and judges is called Black's Law. This dictionary is used for the Crown Copyright Legalese language, the language of the inner city Templars of the corporate city of London, Londinium, and the Crown of London, including the agents of the Crown, the police, for example. There are 3 crowns: the papal crown of the papacy, the Crown of London, and a crown on Elizabeth's head. All policy, statute, and legal guidelines of the UK of GB Corporation and the Government of the United Kingdom Corporation are written using the legalese language. Now, I take your autodidactic, Lisa, and I give you antiquity technology. You know what antiquities are, you know what antiques are, and you know antiquity technology, a weapon of mass deception as old as the New World Holy Testament, the Bible itself. Personage and barratry are what crime is being committed with this maritime might. It is a crime known as personage. What is personage? If you've never heard of that, feel free to look it up and find out your own implied meaning and definition of that word. By arbitrarily creating an estate trust named after you and claiming to own this thing they created, they have falsely claimed to own you and your assets and to literally buy and sell you on the stock exchanges, ship you out of ports and tax you for doing things you've never done. So the Law Society in itself, legal and law, UK legal and English law, they are knowingly committing what is known as personage. Let us look at a few words that contain the word port in them: passports, transportation, export, deportation. It is important to note that there are around 1,000 words used within the Oxford Editions Dictionary with the word port in them. The act of treating a man or woman as a thing, dehumanizing, corruption, Satanism, any entity asking for or using your first and last names is committing the crime of personage. Government, courts, police, banks, corporations, etc. are the beneficiaries of this scheme. The crime of personage makes you a thing, a corpse, a prisoner of war, a slave to this domestic terrorism. And we can look at and find and search for the definition of personage. Okay, a person of rank, note, or distinction, especially one distinguished for presence and personal power. Feel free to share this video on other platforms and help me promote this backup channel, splspro. I would like you to, while you're listening and chatting, if you could put this in places, groups, networks, domains that you frequent, if you could, any groups anywhere. We're going to be here a while, and I do believe that this information that I'm going to present to you in this latest document will be of key importance, and it will be a little bit, I've constructed it in this first draft to have a little bit of a ride. There will be some humorous points in here as well, and it isn't finalized yet. So thank you for joining me, and thank you for helping me grow this channel. Especially one distinguished for presence and personal power. 2, a human individual person. 3, a dramatic, fictional, or historical character, also impersonation. First known use of personage around about the 15th century in the meaning defined at sense 1. So sense 1 was a person of rank, note, or distinction. Legalese is a language that looks, sounds and writes much like the Anglo or English or even Oxford, Cambridge language, but it is in fact legalese, a separate language to English. It is, as I've come to know of it, Roman text. It has separate implied meanings, definitions and interpretations of the usual common English words that one has become accustomed to commanding, using and hearing within the babble that is today's Anglo-English. English is actually a language associated with Nordic invaders, the Vikings and the like. Frisian is all I shall say. The native language in Britain or England used to be French, Francais, and Latin, not English. We find Latin in two main places throughout the annals of history. The prime places within the Holy Church and the papacy itself in ecclesiastical jurisdictions. We find Latin within legal and moreover the laws and maxims of England. One familiar Latin saying one should have come across within your discoveries may be sui juris in propria persona, and that translates into in one's proper person. Equity acts in personam, on a person, which translates to a person must be present for lawful English equity to act. A Latin term in this regard is, and I apologize for my terrible Latin pronunciations before I even proceed furthermore, vigilantibus non dormentibus jura subservient, which means equity aids the vigilant and not the indolent. So if one sleeps on his rights will slip away from him. And you may have heard us mention those that do not reserve and retain their rights or know of their rights at law are viewed as having no rights. A person who has been wronged must act relatively swiftly to preserve their rights. Otherwise, they are guilty of what is known as laches, L-A-C-H-E-S, an untoward delay in litigation with the presumed intent of denying claims. Now, with the precursive background set, we shall now take the word person and cross-reference it within the legal dictionary, Black's Law London, within the Oxford Editions Dictionary of England, and with an ecclesiastical or even Latin dictionary, which ties in with the Vatican City. Person is from Latin, persona equals mask. From the Latin dictionary I have in my collection, I've shown before, and you can easily find Latin dictionaries yourself to check this out. In days of old, the actors in the Roman theatre would wear a mask that had been crafted with pursed lips. The aim of this solid painted decorated mask in its pursed lips was that so when the actor, the man, lady, woman wearing the mask spoke, the air from their mouths would be forced through the mask's mouth opening, and the pursed lips would allow for the flow of air to flow freely under pressure, and the voice became slightly amplified. So the air was pushed through under slight pressure to hit the audience's ears with a full and rich sonic, sound wave technology, sonics and phonics. We have touched on the phone and the phony Phoenicians and their definitions connected to the Venetians, later Venice. Now let us focus on the phonics and sonics. The mask allowed for the pursings of sonics, P-U-R or P-E-R-S-O-N-A, persona, personification, personnel, personal, in person, on your person, P-U-R-S-E-O-N, person. Person is not an English word. When we look at the etymological root references and origins of this word, we see, as I've mentioned, that person originated from the Latin persona. Now, if you want to check all the information I am giving you so far, please do so. Do not take my word for it. Furthermore, the disclaimer is that I'm not giving legal advice, so this is not to be misconstrued as legal advice. Okay, so as per all our disclaimers, any man or woman who chooses to utilize our documents, notices, watch these videos have the sole responsibility to king stand, inner stand and understand, or stand underneath each and every word used in our documents, notices and on these live streams and shows. These shows, our documents and notices have been created, made for educational and entertainment purposes only. They are in no way deemed or to be interpreted as legal advice. In fact, all construction, presumption, or assumption of legal advice purported to be given by myself, David, my channels, and splspro.com is hereby expressed as frivolous and is revoked and denied. The intended outcome for all my shows, for all our interactions, as I've shown you in the places where you can find us, and for all our documents and notices, are always to give the desired result of honour and somewhat safety. You will be successful or unsuccessful based on your mental state of consciousness and due to your levels of faith, and seldom is winning and remaining in honour solely on the contents of yours or our notices and documents and instruments. We need to control our fear, and remember, not all battles are going to be won, and you would need to choose wisely. Okay, so now I will continue on. In the Bible, the Lord God Most High is said to have said, "I am the Alpha and the Omega." Now, that is a very interesting alleged statement from the Lord. Now, why? Well, when I have been researching codes and codex, written language, hieroglyphs, cuneiform, Sanskrit, pictographs, etc., we can note that within the Greek alphabet, the first letter of the Greek alphabet is indeed alpha, and the last letter of the Greek alphabet is omega. Words and sentences properly, or should I say cleverly constructed, create spells, especially when they are broadcast on a mainstream narrative. One may even care to spell words out aloud, which is known as spelling. And we go into definitions of persons from dictionary.com, persona, and you can see synonyms for persona on thesaurus.com, noun, plural, persona, person, personae, the characters in a play, novel, etc., the narrator of or a character in a literary work, sometimes identified with the author. In the psychology of C.G. Jung, the mask or facade presented to satisfy the demands of the situation or the environment and not representing the inner personality of the individual. The public personality contrasted with anima. A person's perceived or evident personality as that of a well-known official, actor or celebrity, personal image, public role. In Black's Law Dictionary, propria persona, and that's Henry Campbell Black, M.A. 1990, propria persona, C pro per, category, representing yourself in court, category small claims, courts and lawsuits, category working with a lawyer, Nolo's Plain English Law Dictionary, Gerard N. Hill, Kathleen Thompson Hill, 2009 Law Dictionary. Propria persona, see in propria persona, Ballantyne's Law Dictionary. In propria persona, adjective Latin, in one's own person, without the assistance of an attorney, pro se. The defendant appeared in propria persona, Merriam-Webster's Dictionary of Law, 1996, Law Dictionary. In propria persona, in one's own proper person. It was formerly a rule in pleading that pleas to the jurisdiction of the court must be plead in propria persona, because if pleaded by an attorney, they admit the jurisdiction. And that was a reference from Black's Law Dictionary again. In propria persona, in one's own person or right, English Word Dictionary. In propria persona, adjective, in his or own person. The etymology, again, in propria persona, see English Dictionary. In propria persona, adverb, etymology, medieval, Latin date, 1654, in one's own person or character. Personally, especially without the assistance of an attorney, New Collegiate Dictionary. So you can go and find, I'm not going to carry on with all of this, but in propria persona sui juris meaning, or sui juris. Sui juris means loosely the capacity to manage one's own affairs as opposed to alieni juris, which indicates the person is under the control of another, such as a legal guardian. In propria persona means in his or her own person. What does sui juris mean? Sui juris is a Latin term meaning in one's own right. More specifically, in order to be considered sui juris, one must have full legal rights and must not be under the power or guardianship of another person. What does sui generis mean in law? Sui generis is a Latin expression that translates to of its own kind. It refers to anything that is peculiar to itself, of its own kind or class. In legal context, sui generis denotes an independent legal classification. What is propria persona in court? Adjective from Latin for oneself, acting on one's own behalf, generally used to identify a person who is acting as his or her own attorney in a lawsuit. What is non sui juris? Latin, not his own master, a term applied to an individual who lacks the legal capacity to act on his or her own behalf, such as an infant or an insane person. What does prima facie mean? Overview, prima facie may be used as an adjective meaning sufficient to establish a fact or raise a presumption unless disproved or rebutted. An example of this would be to use the term prima facie evidence. A prima facie case is the establishment of a legally required rebuttal presumption. What is a persona in law? This is a legal term that refers to the fact that in addition to natural persons, companies are also considered by law to be persons independent of their owners or managers. So what is a persona in law? A legal term that refers to the fact, in addition to natural persons, well, we've got an oxymoron there, haven't we? How can we have a natural persons? For with God there is no respect of persons. Man, God made man, man made government, government made persons. So you see my problem there when the legal society reference natural persons. Companies are also considered by law to be persons independent of their owners or managers. What is a propria persona hearing? If someone is in propria persona, also known as pro per, it means they are representing themselves in court without the assistance of legal counsel. Propria persona is Latin for oneself. What does propria mean? In one's own personal character, personally, especially without the assistance of an attorney. What does the root sui mean? S-U-I. Sui is a Latin word or prefix meaning self, and sidium was a word for death or killing. Which is a sui generis right? The sui generis right prohibits the extraction or reutilization of any database in which there has been a substantial investment in obtaining, verifying, or presenting the data contents. Thus, there is no requirement for creativity or originality. Let me skip through. We don't need that. Persona, 1917, outward or social personality, a Jungian psychology term from Latin persona, person, see, used earlier, 1909, by Ezra Pound in the sense, literary character representing voice of the author. Persona grata is late Latin, literally an acceptable person, originally applied to diplomatic representatives acceptable to the governments to which they were sent. Hence also persona non grata, plural person non gratae. Person, 1200. Personne, an individual, a human being, from Old French personne, human being, anyone, person, 12th century modern French, personne, P-E-R-S-O-N-N-E, and directly from Latin persona, human being, person, personage, a part in a drama, assumed character, originally a mask, a false face, such as those of wood or clay, covering the whole head, worn by the actors in later Roman theatre. OED, Oxford Editions Dictionary, offers the general 19th century explanation of persona as related to Latin personae. to sound through, i.e. the mask as something spoken through and perhaps amplifying the voice. But the long O makes a difficulty. Klein and Barnhart say it is possibly borrowed from Etruscan Pharisee mask. D.B.A has no entry for it. From mid-13th century, as one of the persons of the Trinity, a theological use in Church Latin of the classical word, meanings one's physical being, the living body, external appearance, are from late 14th century. In grammar, one of the relations which a subject may have to a verb. From 1510, in legal use, corporate body or corporation other than the state and having rights and duties before the law. The use of person to replace man in compounds for the sake of gender neutrality or to avoid allegations of sexism is recorded in 1971. In chairperson, in person, imagine a person as a chair, a person made of a chair. In person by bodily presence is from 1560s. Person to person is attested by 1919, originally of telephone calls. Oxford Editions Dictionary, persona, noun, formal, the aspects of a person's character that they show to other people, especially when their real character is different. His public persona is quite different from the family man described in the book. It is the work that is important, not the persona of the artist. We've got a Cambridge Dictionary reference there, the particular type of character that a person seems to have and that is often different from their real or private character. He had a shy, retiring side to his personality that was completely at odds with his public persona. Then I'm going to go on to maxims of law. Sua cuique est tutism refugium. Every man's house is his castle. Nemo di bon domo sua extrae D.B.A. A citizen cannot be taken by force from his house to be conducted before a judge or to prison. This maxim in favour of Roman liberty is much the same as that every man's house is his castle. Let me just get to screen share back up for you. One moment. And I'll let you look at this document as well if it will screen share it for me. And you can see it for yourself what I'm reading. Yeah, okay. Nemo di domo sua extra he potest. No one can be dragged, taken by force from his own house. Capitis diminutio minima. The lowest or least comprehensive degree of loss of status. This occurred when a man's family relations alone were changed. It happened upon the arrogation of a person who had been his own master, suri juris, or upon the emancipation of one who had been under the patria potestas. It left the rights of liberty and citizenship unaltered. And there's some references there for you to have a look at. This is my document that I'm actually reading from, but I just wanted you to see that. I wanted to screen share that with you. Let me just do that. What? Recognize that place, do you? I think so. Maritime or maritime, M-A-R-E is maritime. We talk about admiralty and maritime law, but we have also M-A-R-Y, and we could look at it as maritime, M-A-R-I, Mary. You know, there seems to be a rank within the society, and there is a rank of societies. There are two separate political standings. These are two separate political standings, such as two different ships on one sea. The maritime codes or law is the governance of the ships, vessels upon the sea. Admiralty. The Admiralty law seems to govern the terms and conditions, also known as statute law on the ships and vessels. Now we can look at corporations as seemingly as fictitious vessels and ships that are governed by the law of the sea. And we remember that names are for companies and corporations. If you note, all company names are in what grammatical style? All corpses, corporations and companies are denoted by the use of all capital letters. And also on a gravestone, a name of a deceased man, aka person, is denoted by all capital letters. Their final act in this realm was to die in the public, exit the realm in a public status, and therefore it is denoted as still as all capital letters. Legal persons are the objects and things that are incorporated. Corporations, they are subjects to the title of sinner, trustee, debtor society. These have volunteered and declared themselves as subjects. Subjects of what? Subjects of Her Majesty, subjects of the Queen, loyal subjects. Subject access request. When we do a data subject access request or a subject access request to companies, you see this word subject is used within that for the subject access request. Your person is that subject. These have volunteered and declared themselves subjects via tacit acquiescence and their own free will that the Law Society call ignorance of the law. Well, to know about it, we would need to be ignorant of it. We would need to have the opportunity to have learnt about it, or to have the material facts of the matter presented to us, or to have knowingly entered into these agreements, constructed agreements, and then made a decision. Upon no time in my life do I remember anybody giving me options for from 18 onwards and saying, actually, or even 16 at the 15 with the careers advisor. So David, what would you like to do with your life? Would you like to be in the public and be a subject and pay tax and work and commit to servitude, get a job for commercial intercourse and do what the majority of everybody does, general public? Or would you like to get access to your estate, and would you like to transfer via endorsement, discharge, use private remedy, and access your possibly equitable interest? I'll mention Treasury Direct account, where I'm coming from, the gold in the Vatican, etc. I think then, we could be, after having such information presented to us, first-hand knowledge, meetings of the minds, making an agreements, notions of such, then we could be called ignorant. But as we are not from Oxford, Cambridge, Eton, etc., and we didn't go to these private schools, what are called public schools, but we didn't have that opportunity. We didn't have the knowledge. We didn't knowingly enter into agreements. We didn't agree to be surety, trustee, etc. So therefore, ignorance of the law, well, we would need to have an opportunity to become knowledgeable of that, to indeed become ignorant. And there was no opportunity, there was no time, there was no anything. So forgive me for that wording there. The Oxford Manual of Styles and Chicago Manual of Styles, or Styles Manual. Why have I put that there? Capital letters. We'll expand on that later in this document, page 12 of 91. What is a person? In the imaginary world of legal fiction, all commerce is legal fiction. A person is always an artificial legal person of one kind or another, legally generated. A legal person is any subject matter to which the law attributes a merely legal or fictitious personality. This extension is one of the most noteworthy feats of the legal imagination. Legal persons, being the arbitrary creations of the law, may be of as many kinds of the law, may be as many kinds as the law pleases. Those recognized by our own system, however, all fall within a single class, namely corporations or bodies corporate. Source, Jurisprudence, 7th edition, Sweet and Maxwell Limited, 1924, section 113, page 336. Natural person, oxymoron, a perversion of itself. You know, I can't say that enough. A human being naturally born versus a legally generated juridical person. Natural, authentic flesh and blood man is not a natural person, but legally a natural person is recognized at law. Black's Law edition, Black's Law Dictionary, 2nd edition. Artificial person, a non-human entity that is created by law and is legally different, owning its own rights and duties. Black's Law Dictionary, 2nd edition. What is a person? Black's Law Dictionary, and I have a link there for that. Person means an individual, a firm, a partnership, an association, a fiduciary, an executor or administrator, a government entity, a limited liability company, or a corporation. Just take a moment there, okay? So when we say, and why we say it, our methodology and how we've come to bring this information to you and share with you is, you know, police may stop, troopers may stop and say, do you have anything upon your person of which we need to be aware of during just a routine attempted or a stop and search? You know, your person. So if you agree to be a person and you want to be a person, great. But we self-governing initiates of self with the attainment of higher knowledge and the principality of good and bad and sin and straying from the path, we are not a person. You know, names are for companies, persons are companies, names are for persons. So we'll go again. Person means an individual, a firm, a partnership, an association, a fiduciary, an executor or administrator, a governmental entity, a limited liability company, or a corporation. We can reference, and this is random, but it's worthy of referencing because I like to go England, America, Canada, and New Zealand and show that there is the similar vein of insanity throughout the continents. Okay, so we're going to look at Indiana Code, Title 9, Motor Vehicles, Article 13, General Provisions and Definitions, Chapter 2. And you can look at the person, Section 124, subsection A. Individual as a noun. This term denotes a natural person and may, in proper cases, include artificial persons. Black's Law Dictionary, page 773, 6th edition, 1990, US versus Middleton, number 99-105-18231 F.3D 1207, 9th circulation 2000. The term person does not include the sovereign. Wilson versus Obama, Indian Tribe, 442 U.S.653, 1979. A juridical person is a non-human legal entity that is not a single natural person, but an organization recognized by law as a legal person, such as a corporation, government agency, or non-government organization, also known as an artificial person. Juridical entity, juridic person, and juristic person, or legal persons. A juridical person maintains certain duties and rights as enumerated under relevant laws. The rights and responsibilities of a juridical person are distinct from those of the natural persons constituting it. Since ancient times, associations have been known as the original form of the juridical person. This is documented for the 1st century AD for Jewish trading companies. In Roman law, too, the institution already had significance, although it was not called as such. Conceptually, it included institutions such as the state, communities, corporations, universitats, and their associations of persons and assets, as well as associations. At least 3 persons were required in Rome to found an association. In law, a legal person is any person or thing. Less ambiguously, any legal entity that can do the things a human person is usually able to do in law or at law. They say in law, but it's at law. such as enter into contracts, sue and be sued, own property, and so on. The reason for the term legal person is that some legal persons are not people. Company, wow, who'd have thought it? Companies and corporations are persons legally speaking. They can legally do most of the things ordinary persons can do, but they are clearly not people in the ordinary sense. Lord help me, you see, it's getting messy now, but to us, it's common knowledge. To others, we need to get this information out there. You know, I really am sorry about the outlay and the way I'm doing this, but there is no other way. Okay, I need to give you substance. I need to give you the facts of the matter. I need to give you case and point references. And this is going to be done back to basics. David, where do I start? Here is where you start. I'm sorry. You know, it's probably going to be a 3-hour video. It's 91 pages, 26,000 words. I shouldn't apologize for this, but I am going to apologize for what has been done to us and our alleged ignorance of it. So in some instances, ignorance is bliss, and I understand why ignorance is bliss to a lot of the masses. There are therefore two kinds of legal entities, human and non-human. In law, a human person is called a natural person. Stop. Rewind selector. There are therefore two kinds of legal entities, human and non-human. At law, a human person is called a natural person. Sometimes also a physical person, and a non-human person is called a juridical person. Sometimes also a juridic, juristic, artificial, legal, or fictitious person. Latin, persona ficta. Juridical persons are entities such as corporations and firms in some jurisdictions and many government agencies. They are treated in law as if they were persons. Persons have names, and names are for companies. Let me just have a look at the chat room and check that all is well. Loud and clear. Okay, let me see here. Hello to Indi Glow scribes, and I upload this and say hello to you now, as well as the others here. There is a YouTube channel I follow called Autodidactic that covers Flat Earth, Mud Flood and Tartaria. Easy London Underground. Thank you for that. Lisa, what a comment. It could even started something now. Just about made it. CM, hello. I used to enjoy a warming sip or two of a good port. What? Oh, yes. I used to have a cheeky Vimto when I was a DJ, which was a WKD Blue in a pint, 2 bottles in a pint glass with a double port. The only time I've ever knowingly drank port. Sparrow, person, sparrow hawk, I will say. Person, modern, a character that is a human being or colour of man being. This is so good, David. Thank you, Lisa. Greg H, all good. So we will continue on. I just wanted to say hello to my Indi Glow scribes, because I'm going to download this and try to upload it for them to have some material to watch. Because not everybody is migrated to splspro as the backup channel, and as Indi keeps going in the sin bin for revealing truths, you know, I'm mighty glad that you're here and I have this outlet. Well, you've buzzed me up now. I'm buzzing. While natural persons acquire legal personality naturally, simply by being born or before that, in some jurisdictions, juridical persons must have legal personality conferred on them by some unnatural legal process, and it is for this reason that they are sometimes called artificial persons. In the most common case, incorporating a business. Legal personality is usually acquired by registration with a government agency set up for the purpose. In other cases, it may be primarily legislation. An example would be the Charity Commission in the UK, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 16 advocates for the provision of legal identity for all, including birth registration by 2030 as part of the 2030 agenda. So I wanted to just take a moment to So take that in. Page 14 of 91. I'm going to do it. While natural persons acquire legal personality, and it's got naturally in brackets, simply by being born, okay, not birth, but simply by being born, or before that, in some jurisdictions, juridical persons must have a legal personality conferred on them by some unnatural legal process. And it is for this reason that they are sometimes called artificial persons. In the most common case, incorporating a business, legal personality is usually acquired by registration with a government agency set up for the purpose, the General Registry Office. Births, deaths, marriages. And we're going to look at Lorraine Kelly in a bit, and Lorraine, and we're going to use her as an example with regards to her tax charges. As legal, and when I talk about, there are sometimes, or quite often is the case, that I find the law of England, the common laws of England, the high courts, I hold them in contempt, and I find that there are contradictory, paradoxical situations within the cognition of what the bleep is going on. That paragraph there is exactly a prime example of what I am faced with, and what I understand your pain, and I hope you understand my pain with having to get all of this information and try to put it together in document video form for us to interact and chat about. And I do hope you're making notes, and if you're here at the end of this reading, then we'll you can make them note, you can take them notes, type them in, and I will answer the questions, and we will expand, and I will look at your comments, because I can't keep looking at the screen, the chat screen. As legal personality is a prerequisite to legal capacity, the ability of any legal person to amend, i.e. enter into, transfer, etc., rights and obligations, it is a prerequisite for an international organization to be able to sign international treaties in its own name. Reference recent court case Lorraine, capital Lorraine, and Lorraine Kelly, lowercase. The term legal person can be ambiguous because it is often used as a synonym of terms that refer only to non-human legal entities, specifically in contradistinction to natural person. Definitely says contradistinction. Artificial personality, juridical personality, or juristic personality is the characteristic of a non-living entity regarded by law as having the status of personhood. So you think of the show Lorraine, that's hosted and presented by the woman Lorraine Kelly. So she has a TV personality. Yes, when we're talking about personalities and persons, we'll expand on that later. But a juridical or artificial person, Latin, persona ficta, remember what I said a few paragraphs ago, also juristic person, has a legal name and has certain rights, protections, privileges, responsibilities, and liabilities at law, similar to those of a natural person. The concept of a juridical person is a fundamental legal fiction. It is pertinent to the philosophy of law, as it is essential to laws affecting a corporation, research corporations law. So when we talk about legal fiction, legal, and you may remember those billboards some years ago, to use a legal name is fraud. Remember, that was a anonymous lot of billboards that went up. I actually did copy a bit of that and used the logo iconography for sovereign paralegals some years ago, and I talked extensively to Stephen Bincham McRae about this, went into certain aspects of this fiction, okay, and helping to help others understand what a fiction is. So it's not anything but as it is written and said and referenced and paraphrased here for you then to take and digest. Juridical personhood, brotherhood, neighborhood, falsehood, words that end in hood. Juridical personhood allows one or more natural persons, universitas personarum, to act as a single entity or body corporate for legal purposes. In many jurisdictions, artificial personality allows that entity to be considered under law separately from its individual members. For example, in a company limited by shares, its shareholders, they may sue and be sued, enter into contracts, incur debt, and own properties. Entities with legal personality may also be subjected to certain legal obligations, such as the payment of taxes. An entity with legal personality may shield its members from personal liability. So when I say doing business as, we have a company. My company is known as Mr. David Jeremita, all caps. Okay, and it's subject to allegedly there to taxation, and it has can be sued, and it can enter into contracts and incur debt and own properties. You see, in the name public property, the person, the business, the company, the birth certificate, driving license, passport, name, surname, date of birth, national insurance number. The let me show you what I mean by certified person, and we shall continue on. It will just take me a minute. All right. I have come prepared today. Here is my, there's a copy of my a redacted edit of my certified person for you to have a look at. All right, that's a copy, a photo copy of the birth certificate issued by the General Registry Office, aka my certified person. Yes, you're familiar with that, the watermark that's going through it there. You may or may not be able to see that. Falsehood. In some common law jurisdictions, a distinction is drawn between corporation aggregate, such as a company which is composed of a number of members, and a corporation sole, which is a public office of legal personality separated from the individual holding the office. These entities have separate legal personality. Historically, most corporations' sole were ecclesiastical in nature. For example, the office of the Archbishop of Canterbury is a corporation sole, but a number of other public offices are now formed as corporations sole. QE2, Queen Elizabeth II, is the corporation sole. So I put this in here, revisited this because one of our admins, known commonly as Claire, has found it very interesting and got her teeth sunk into what exactly is a corporation sole. Big up to you, Claire, and thank you for the work that you do. Thank you to all the admins, but thank you, Claire, particularly for delving deep into this area. The concept of juridical personality is not absolute. Piercing the corporate veil refers to looking at the individual natural persons acting as agents involved in a company action or decision. This may result in a legal decision in which the rights or duties of a corporation or public limited company are treated as the rights or liabilities of that corporation's members or directors. The concept of a juridical person is now central to Western law in both common law and civil law countries, but it is also found in virtually every legal system. Examples. Some examples of a juridical person include cooperatives, co-ops, co-ops, business organization owned and democratically operated by a group of individuals for their mutual benefit. The United Kingdom Corporation, the government of the United Kingdom Corporation. Corporations are bodies corporate. Corporations are bodies corporate, created by a statute or character. A corporation sole is a corporation constituted by a single member in a particular capacity, and that person's successors in the same capacity, in order to give them some legal benefit or advantage, particularly that of perpetuity, which a natural person could not have had. Examples are a religious officiant in that capacity, or the crown in the Commonwealth realms. A corporation aggregate is a corporation constituted by more than one member. And you can look at, I shall try to put this link, Jordan Maxwell link, in the chat for you now. and I shall also screen share and tell you where it is. If you'd like to follow that, to look at the great Jordan of the Maxwell found talking about corporations. So this was shared by Claire the other day, reference what she had found, and I've borrowed it from her, and I'm sharing it with you today. So if I go screen share, that's where it will take you, and that's what you will be looking at. Jordan Maxwell Corporation sold the International. And there's links and stuff to jordanmaxwellshow.com. All right, so there's no comments on that, but if you'd like to listen to that for the whole 15 minutes at some point and make a note, all right, then I would appreciate you doing so to get a better idea of what go on there. Moving on. Uno momento. Take a drink, have a moment, rinse your brain under the tap. Hey. Where are we going to next? What else can I find to... that's quite a nice one, isn't it? Got some relevant ones, backgrounds for you to be appeased by. I hope the camera is a bit better. I've got the good one out. Municipal corporations or municipalities are creatures of statute. Other organizations may be created by statute as legal persons, including European Economic Interest Groupings, EEIGS. Unincorporated associations, that is aggregates of 2 or more persons, are treated as juridical persons in some jurisdictions, but not others. Partnerships, an aggregate of 2 or more persons to carry on a business in common for profit and created by agreement. Traditionally, partnerships did not have continuing legal personality, but many jurisdictions now treat them as having independent legal personalities. Companies are corporations. I hope that you have got the gist of now. The term often refers to a business association that carries on an industrial enterprise, although companies may take other forms, such as trade unions. Blah, 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 we don't need that. Sovereign states are legal persons. In the international legal system, various organizations possess legal personality. These include intergovernmental organizations, the United Nations, the Council of Europe, and some other international organizations, including the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, a religious order. Sovereign Military Order. Have you ever heard anything so dark in all your times? The European Union, EU, has a legal personality since the Lisbon Treaty entered into force on the 1st of December 2009. That the EU has legal personality is a prerequisite for the EU to join the European Convention on Human Rights, aka ECHR. However, in 2014, the EU decided not to be bound by the rulings of the European Court of Human Rights. Temples in some legal systems have separate legal personality. Now hear this. This is a nice little bit for you. The Whanganui River was granted legal personality in March 2017 under New Zealand law because the Whanganui Maori tribe regard the river as their ancestor. Oh, that's a fun fact that might make you smile there. It did me. I just couldn't resist putting it in. Also in March 2017, the High Court of Uttarakhand declared the Ganges River a legal person in a move that, according to one newspaper, could help in efforts to clean the pollution-choked rivers. As of 6th of April 2017, the ruling has been commented on in Indian newspapers to be hard to enforce, with assertions that experts who do not anticipate immediate benefits, that the ruling is hardly game-changing. The experts who believe that any follow-up action is unlikely and the judgment is deficient to the extent it acted without hearing others in states outside Uttarakhand who have stakes in the matter. It's as much as I can find on that there for you, those two, I thought 2 rivers there. Cry me a river, Not all organizations have legal personality. For example, the board of directors of a corporation, legislator, or governmental agency typically are not persons, in that they have no ability to exercise legal rights independent of the corporation or political body which they are a part of. We can look at ecclesiastical dictionary, person, ecclesiastical, church speak, persons whom a special tie connects with the church, either because they have received holy orders or because they have taken vows in a religious order or congregation approved by the church. The word ecclesiastic describes a member of the clergy, typically someone associated with a Christian church. The word ecclesiastic has origins in the Greek word ecclesiastes, meaning speaker in an assembly or church, and can be used to describe someone associated with a church, such as a cleric or priest. What is an ecclesiastical position? An ecclesiastical office is the office at a church, and a nun's habit is ecclesiastical dress. The ecclesiastical hierarchy is the pecking order of the clergy, and high-ranking clergy are considered to be ecclesiastical authorities. Secular is the opposite of ecclesiastical. What is an example of ecclesiastical? The definition of ecclesiastical is something derived or related to the Christian church. A written work or associated with the Christian church is an example of ecclesiastical work. What is the legal definition of ecclesiastical? Related to ecclesiastical law, ecclesiastical belonging to or set apart from the church as distinguished from civil or secular. We don't need that, we don't need that. What is a human positive law? Positive laws, Latin, ius positum, are human-made laws that oblige or specify an action. More specifically, positive law may be characterized as law actually and specifically enacted or adopted by proper authority for the government of an organized jural society. Now, we have come across and I have shared PDFs by Franco Collins. Positive laws is the continuation of the Vatican City canons, the ecclesiastical canons that seem to end about the 1900 range. And Franco Collins has talked about, and he's a name I haven't mentioned up until this point. It's a perfect segue to enter into Frank, positive laws, canons, and his PDF with regards to the reference against the Vatican canons. And then I would also like to interject Helena Blavatsky and the referencing of the Tibetan canons. I don't need to know what it's got here. What is an ecclesiastical marriage? What are the different properties of rights? And then we're going to reference Bible, some KJV references. For there is no respect of persons with God. The great passion in the life of the Apostle Paul was to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and to make known the truth regarding salvation. Romans 1:15-16, chapter 1, verse 15-16. So as much as in me is, I am ready to preach the gospel to you that are at Rome also. For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. Before a man can ever be convinced that Jesus Christ is the Savior, he must be convicted in his heart of his need for salvation. Paul understood this, and so according to the revelation given him by God, he set forth not only Christ the Savior, but also the desperate condition of the unsaved man. In order to expose man for what he truly is, Paul stripped away all of man's costumes, all his garments of self-righteousness, and made him stand naked before the mirror in the light of God. Romans 2:11, for there is no respect of persons with God. God is not a respecter of persons. This truth he made known to his prophet Samuel when he was considering which of Jesse's sons would inherit the throne of King Saul. Samuel 16:7. But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. God is never fooled by man's outward appearance or by his performances. Matthew 6:5. And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray, standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily, I say unto you, they have their reward. God sees what is going on inside man's heart. Ezekiel 33:31. And they come unto thee as the people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people, and they hear thy words, but they will not do them. For with their mouth they shew much love, or show, SHEW is written, but their heart goeth after their covetousness. Mark 7:6. He answered and said unto them, we have Isaiah prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, this people honoureth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Before you and I can get anywhere in our walk with God, we must realise that God is not interested in our performances. Actors perform, actors stage, the whole world is a stage. Performances, loosely termed there, you need to get that word locked in. God is not impressed by you or me. He wants our hearts to be right with him. The story of Abel and Cain teaches us what God does respect. Genesis 4:1-5. And Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. When we say God created man, she didn't say, I've gotten a brand new person, I have given birth. She has born a man, she has gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought the fruit of the ground, an offering unto the Lord. And Abel, he also brought the firstlings of his flock and the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and his offerings. Leviticus is good reference there, but that's too much. I won't go through that. Chronicles, Isaiah, Psalm, Deuteronomy, James references. Man-made philosophies and religions have for their premise the innate goodness of mankind. They suppose the way of holiness is to fan the flame of human kindness, love, and understanding. This is the way of Cain, to deny man's sinful state and to reject salvation offered by Christ. If we are ever going to further the gospel, we must see people as God sees them. All men are sinners. There is no respect of persons with God. All men, in the story and in the teachings and in the codified text of the various editions of the Bible, all men will need Christ. There is no other way to eternal life. And I, David, son of Jeremiah, am one of the men who has the privilege of telling my initiates about this story and our way of decoding the text therein, finding the messages and translating and finding the interpretations and references, because as we've come to learn, Londinium Templars, London City Law Society laws based on the Bible, you will find that within the 10 commercial maxims and biblical precepts presented by us and found in the public domain for you to go and look at, and you will see, especially referencing Exodus in there with the law of commerce. It is my solemn duty to share critical criteria and knowledge with you all as I progress upon my journey of enlightenment and move from a disciple to an apostle, an initiate of self, and obtain higher knowledge. Teaching of the Corpus Hermeticum, Hermes Trismegistus, Thoth, or Thoth. And that then, I have something prepared before I carry on for us to use. There's my man, Bumshanker. Come on, Kez. It's our Kez. That's perhaps not the best. I've now got bird head on my head, but we'll continue on. In a court, one is asked to make the person present known. So here we go now. I don't know how long we've been rolling for. You've now got something tangible and articulate. 9:10. Also about 90 minutes then. 100 minutes, and we're getting into court. In court, at court, sorry, not in a court, at a court, one is asked to make the person present or known. Here are the unique identifiers for a legal certified person. Let me just take a moment, check the chat, shout you out and say, Sharpie, Sparky, are the links on SPL, fella? The links for what? Remind me of what you was wanting. They don't use man or woman in my boys' primary school, it's person. Okay, thank you, Malcolm CM. These live streams are so educational with such an abundance of knowledge. We are indebted to you, David. Bless you all. Much love to you. Bosh. We're indebted to one another. I am just a humble servant of my higher self, of the Most High. When we say charitable trust, I give away research and tens of thousands of words and my time, information, you know, for a meager 25 pence a week, 12 pounds a year, 12 promises a year for our domain. So this is part of my charitableness and part of my fulfillment of the sacred contract to my extended family, all of you here on SPL's Pro, and my scribes and supporters and channel members on Indi Glow. I miss you all, and I'm sorry about the ban, but there's nothing I can do there. So you know, we move on and we do the best we can, and I'm very humbled by your praise, your grumbles, your critique, you know, constructive criticism. We're continuously improving, and it is my my privilege and honor. I bow before you all. I feel like I should move out the way and let the Birdman take the screen. The ibis, it's an ibis actually, ibis-headed man being. So in a court, one is asked to make a person present or known. Here are the unique identifiers for a legal certified person. And hopefully you all know what a legal certified person looks like and is by now. You have a name, a date of birth, a surname, a national insurance number, social security number, social insurance number, passport, birth certificate, and driver's license. My date of birth is hearsay. I was born in May 1978. So being a little bit cocksure there and being a bit cocky. What is your date of birth? D.O.B. Man doesn't have a date of birth. I was born, and I was born in May 1978. So if you're going to ask me for my date of birth, David, I'm going to play with that and say my date of birth is hearsay. You know, I was very small and young and weak at the age of 1 day, and I'm not sure when I was born. You'll have to ask my mum, to be fair, my date of birth. And we're going to get into this technicality of it later in this paragraph. So I was born, and my born date is May 1978. I only have one birthday, and that was back in May 1978. To repeatedly celebrate a birthday each and every full year from being born is insanity. Would you like to think about that? Man is born only once. Man can go through a rebirth and become reborn, as detailed by the great mystic Christ Jesus, as one obtains at the temples of the ment a Christ consciousness, as one becomes conscionable. My person has a date of birth. My certified legal person, a citizen, that was created, birthed on the date that my mother registered my birth with the General Registry Office officer. So you are born, and then a time later, there was a registration, an informant. Mum is the informant there, and or mum and dad are the informant, and then the citizen is created, and your certified person, citizen, is given, you know, as a evidence of an entry of the extract of the registrar's book there. My certified person, citizen, was birthed on the registration date several weeks after man or I was born. So in a court, one is invited to state your legal name. Are you Mr., Mrs., Ms., all caps? Now here at this point, we have previously over the last few decades fallen foul to this question. Shabba to the 20 that are watching. That's respected and appreciated. Please feel free to share this mammoth, epic, meaty episode of paradoxical hokum, and I hope you're enjoying it. So now here at this point, we have previously over the last few decades fallen foul to this question, give me your name. A person can be a corporation and vice versa, as detailed previously in this document and broadcast to you. A corporation can be a person. So let me state this fact. A legal corporation is a soulless and dead entity. Bumshanker, okay? If people can be corporations and corporations can be people, as I've detailed to you, a legal corporation is a soulless and dead entity. So the letters and communications that come to Mr. and Mrs. All Caps, when you are with the spell summoned, to the venue, the county, district, magistrate, crown, etc., you're summoned, like, you summons a ghost at a seance there, spelling, spells, sorry, but here we go. Soulless and dead entities, summons, the person they have written to is a soulless and dead entity. Hence why those in the freeman, common law and practical lawful descent movement have insisted upon claiming that they are not a dead person and that they are alive and well as flesh and blood beings with biological origins, aka man. The courts are interested in that. They know what the crack is. I'm sure most of them, 90% of them do. And there's a way and a means of presenting and doing business to avoid getting a summary judgment or being there and not agreeing to be the name, I'll explain it in detail as I go on. I'm digressing. And they will issue a warrant for failure to attend because the person has not been known to be presented and present. So, there's issues here that we've drastically got to improve. So I shall not get into the 3 jurisdictions that the court required to obtain authority and jurisdiction over oneself. Man. This is done by man claiming the title and legal name of Mr., Mrs., Ms., all caps. This is known, what is known as joinder to the legal name by authentic flesh and blood man. Personage, as referenced above at the beginning of the chapters of this document and the presentation I'm giving to you in this live show today. Personage, as referenced above, and barratry, the civil administrative courts of the United Kingdom Corporation, are business venues that operate as a dark satanic death cult that feeds on the low-hanging fruit. G-Star, I do like that reference, low-hanging fruits. One of the 3 jurisdictions that the courts and presiding judge, banker of the bench indeed require is the personal jurisdiction. They have the other 2 in the bag of the 3. They require a 3rd, and that's the personal jurisdiction. Personnel. This is why I've gone through the liberty of putting this document in such a way that it should flow and it should all be clicking or making sense or enlightenment. You may need to watch this video several times. You may need to read this 91-page document several times, print it, make notes, post-it stamps, things like that, have chats with us, and etc. So they need is the personal jurisdiction, hence why they will ask you for, and prior to proceedings, according to their rhetoric, it requires a legal person, trustee, surety be confirmed to be present. The state-owned and crown copyrighted legal person, citizen, defendant. One cannot represent something that is not already known to the legal system, the law society, and their crown copyright legalese language. One can only represent that which is recognized to the state system. So when man is said to, we can argue that man is present and you can't, are you going to discriminate against me because I am man? It's a clever little paragraph term sentence to say, I am man and I am here with my person, and if you're going to choose to discriminate against me for being man, man is referenced in the Bible. We can get technical on this later. I could go on, I could have written 250 pages in this document and expanded and splintered and interjected in segues, but I'm choosing not to. But I know there were ones out there that can help me with this and put comments in and feedback and chat with us. And I appreciate that in advance, and I'm aware, and I need to let you know that for time and saturation point and practicality reasons, this version 1 draft, you know, contains what it contains, and when we get to version 5, or say, or whatever, it will have the added extras and bits that we talk about, and your feedback, praise and criticism in there. It will be continuously improved. So you cannot represent something that is not already known to the system, the law, society, their language. You can only represent that which is recognized to the state system. Man is not recognized nor honored within the civil administrative United Kingdom lower courts mechanism. Persons are, and I've told you at the beginning, I've given you, you see how I'm flowing this now, so you can't really say, David, but because I've already given you everything that you need and the reasons for that. So as much as I love you and respect you, let the governor carry on the show, and we will speak about the you know, in a bit. Neither is man recognized or honored within the law and higher court system of England and Wales and the English law system. You could argue that you've done an ecclesiastical deed poll, and now that you have, you know, well, okay, you could, but you know what an ecclesiastical deed poll does for you? It makes you a true person. You see, so you're still a person. You might not be an artificial person or a juridical person or a natural person, but you're a true person. But what does it say? For God, there is no respect of persons, so we shall hold that in contempt. It's close, but it's not right. Here's Mr. Chips with another quick reminder. One can only represent that which is known or familiar to the inner city Londinium Crown Templars and agents, their certified legal persons, or one's legal personality. The agents of the Crown will only recognise their Crown copyrighted legal person, legal personality, name, birth certificate, certified person. Authentic and sovereign man will never be able to be legally recognised. Incorrect jurisdiction. Man is not legal. We are law, as in folk law, L-O-R-E, not L-A-W, okay? And we're not legal. So solicitors, you know, lawyers, they operate legally. So they should be called legalers, but they're called lawyers, liars, but they're not actually at law. They're operating legally. Barristers, on the other hand, and crown courts and higher courts and supreme courts, courts of appeal and international criminal courts and so forth, still have paradoxical meetings of, and you'd be hard pressed to be anything but a type of a person. Equity acts in persona. You see why we have to go through the areas and the pathways that we've done. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of sleepless nights. Meditation is the key for me. So authentic and sovereign man will never be able to be legally recognized in correct jurisdictions. Man does not have the capacity to be legally charged. Man is referenced and recognized under Mosaic and to some extent ecclesiastical laws. Humans are referenced within the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We can also, Article 6, we can also look at protected characteristics and to the Equality Act. As I said, you're going to discriminate against me for being man, and a great deal of a lot more areas, and that's open to expansion. Here in England, we see the merger of the church and the state, hence why Queen Elizabeth II has handed over the running of the UK government corporation to the remit of the Lords, the courts, and the UK Prime Minister. Ministers are found where? Primarily within the church. The ministers and executives of the UK Government Directorate are answerable to the ministerial code. Well, ministers are. I've put executives there of the UK, but it's strictly ministers that answer to the ministerial code. You may have heard that of latter months and years of Brexit and so forth, and the breaching of by the government and Boris in particular, and Priti Patel, I do believe, or maybe Nicola Sturgeon. So there's enough there for you to go on. We have the ministerial code. You can find the ministerial code. When one appoints a minister in office as one's trustee, the minister is compelled to honour these duties within their fiduciary capacity. If the minister disclaims these duties, then one has a right to remedy and recourse, and one area of support is found within the ministerial code. In America and the Incorporated United States of America, America Incorporated USA Inc., the church and the state are indeed separated, the complete opposite of what we have here in England, that which resides within the United Kingdom Corps and Corporation also. So as lovely as it is to find videos and Jordan Maxwell's and Santos Bonacci's and Bill Turner's and X, Y, and Z, it doesn't always help, because what is good for one is not good for all, and we'll get into that later in this document. So we have to remember how America was colonized and its blood-stained history, the journey from the early pioneers unto the USA of modern time. It was initially how America was colonized, and how now it is the USA. The landmass America hosts the United States of America, and US incorporate the corporation, United Kingdom Corporation. It's a bit of a giveaway there. Tells you in itself the UK corporation. But the UK is a corporation. Shock horror. Well, it's clearly there in its name in itself. One can only present one's legal personality. One's name is hearsay. I don't have a name. Names are for companies. My full name, give me your full name. An officer once said to me, times gone by. I said, my full name is David. He's like, well, what's your surname? I said, no, you've asked me for my name. My full name is David. I could have said I am called David, but I wanted to play. I didn't want to aggravate the officer at the time. And I was in a little bit of a pickle. I'd done nothing wrong. I was being stopped for a traffic officer. What's your name? Give me your full name. And he asked me my name. I said, my name's David. What's your full name? I went, my full name is David. Or put another way, I'm commonly known and called David. I am sometimes known to go by a name, officer, but only when that is a benefit to me. Are you the driver of this vehicle? I'm sat behind the wheel of the Iron Horse. There's nobody else there. He's at the window and he's asking me. So it's not a given if I'm a driver of the vehicle, because there's a question asked, a 50-50 answer, yes or no. I said, I will present you my driver. I am traveling in a non-commercial private capacity, and here is my driver. And I passed the driver to him. Is this your vehicle? I had to go into all of that. No, it is not my vehicle. It is not stolen. It is not listed as stolen. It's private property. A vehicle, can I just stop you? May I ask you what language you are speaking? Because I'm commanding and using, for the purposes of clarity and avoidances of doubt, the Oxford English definitions. And I believe your language, officer, with all due respect, whether you know it or don't know it, is coming from legalese. So we have, a misunderstanding here, and I'm not trying to be vexatious. It is my wish to be going and on my way. I've done something, or there's an issue, I'd like you to make me aware of it, and I will remedy it at the earliest convenience. So, as soon as you get these interactions, if the officer is in a bad way, a bad mood, angry, looking to make impressions, new, young, millions of reasons why, we've had the police force, up in arms with independent inquiries and, dishonourable conduct over the years, especially after Sarah Everard, and there's certain things there, and misconduct and miscarriages of justice, and WhatsApp groups being found, and think it's just horrendous. Not every officer is bad. I know that, but there aren't any constables and peacekeepers here to do service, and they've come out into the public as part of a corporation. They're bothering man, and they're looking as crown agents or agents of the crown, the London crown, to incur fines, fees and penalties, instead of us all being united and on the same page, working together. They could be out doing other things. Traffic officers are traffic officers, and they primarily manage the traffic. So when they ask my full name, and if I'm the driver and this is my vehicle, I always am humble and non-vexatious and non-aggressive. So when they say, what is your full name? What is your name? And I just say, David. What's your full name? They're looking for surname there. I just say my full name is David. I have a name, and I'm sometimes known to go by it, but only when it's a benefit to me. Are you legally trained, officer? Is another question I asked him. And if so, what are your qualifications? What institution are you licensed and registered and governed by? He couldn't answer that question. He actually realized then, No, I'm not legally trained. No, I'm not legally trained and a man travelling, but I'm legally aware. My mum's head of Derby Law University, and she's told me these things. I'm not a free man. I'm not a sovereign citizen. Okay, I am a sovereign, but I'm not a sovereign. That's another oxymoronic statement. And I had to politely, the end of it, he left and he was like, I'm going to make some notes and check that out. Realised he wasn't legally trained and he was out doing a legal job with legal public commercial liabilities, of which he was a little bit worried about, I do believe. So all started with a little innocent traffic stop and a name. The state and judiciary are looking to afford me or you, man, benefits by way of fines, fees and forfeitures. You know, we're not guilty of anything. We've done no crime. There is no victim. Offences and infractions, they will argue it's a criminal offence, another oxymoronic statement. It's either a criminal acting as a victim or it's an offence and an infraction, which is generally applicable to government employees and those involved in public commercial intercourse, of which I am neither. So we go to this first one. So they're looking to give fines, fees and forfeitures. I politely and respectfully decline, and at court as well. They were looking to give you fines, fees and forfeitures, you know, and they're looking to give that the person and they want you to be the person. So I politely and respectfully decline this benefit. I shall enter into the court the commercial body of my person, my legal personality, my certified person, my business. I am doing business as Mr. David Jeremita. Shufty it that way, you see. So in a court, they're asking for the person and the name. Why? The civil, administrative, arbitratory hearing. They want to give fines, fees and forfeitures. These are benefits to the state and not to you and I. I, David, am the agent in office, the principal and the attorney of my own estate. The beneficiary to any and all civil impositions can then be afforded to my legal personality, my certified person, by way of presenting one certified person into the court, one's birth certificate. We are not the defendant, David, and backwards DNA, Jeremita. We are here today for the administration of justice. I am called David, commonly known as David, son of Jeremita. I have a person and he is here with me. I'm doing business as Mr. All Caps. That is my persona, my person, certified person. One's issue of a birth certificate is evidence of the fact. I am the sole shareholder of that corporation known as Mr. David Jeremita. We are here today for the administration of justice and are here by way of special appearance to help clear up the controversies surrounding the legal name and will help you administer these claims exponentially. We are not the defendant. We are not a name. How can I be a name? How can you be a name? Names, noun, you know, a name, noun starts with a capital letter. Name starts with a capital letter. Even if it's not all caps, can be just capital first letter, the rest can be lowercase. You could have Mr., Mrs., Ms., that's a title. You don't really want to accept sir, they might call you sir, that's another title. You know, please sir, in commercial restaurants and things, waiters, they will address you as sir, madam, miss, you know, titles. You don't want them titles, you don't want the name. Okay, you don't want the afforded public liabilities associated with them. Or maybe you do, I don't know. As I said, no legal advice here. This is just a little bit of fun, a little bit of bass, a little bit of drums. So, English grammatical language, English literature, English language, nouns. A noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. A noun is a word for person, place, thing, or idea. Nouns are often used with an article, the, a, or an, the, sorry, comma, a, comma, an, but not always. Proper nouns always start with a capital letter. Common nouns do not. Nouns can be singular or plural, concrete or abstract. Nouns show possession by adding apostrophe s. Nouns can function with different roles within a sentence. For example, a noun can be a subject, that word again, direct object, indirect object, subject, complement, or object of a preposition. Example, the young girl brought me a very long letter from the teacher and then she quickly disappeared. Oh my, exclamation mark. Is this a correct sentence structure? Question mark. Pronoun. A pronoun is a word used in place of a noun. And there's been a lot of that talk about recently, hasn't there, with the gender fluid, gender in itself, the rainbow coming out, and gender neutrality, pansexual. So she, we, they, it, you. A pronoun is a word used in place of a noun. A pronoun is usually substituted for a specific noun, which is called its I always can't say this word, antecedent. Antecedent. In the sentence above, the antecedent for the pronoun she is the girl. Pronouns are further defined by type. Personal pronouns refer to specific persons or things. Possessive pronouns indicate ownership. Reflexive pronouns are used to emphasize another noun or pronoun. Relative pronouns introduce a subordinate clause, and demonstrative, it's got demon in it, demonstrative pronouns identify, point to, or refer to nouns. You need to look at verbs expressing actions or beings, adjectives, adverbs, what a preposition is, conjunction, interjection. Names are nouns and are denoted by the capital letter used to start the name David, you know, as my person's name. So we look at nouns and proper nouns, okay, as I've discussed there, and found when I looked at David Wynne-Miller's Parse Syntax, correct sentence structure and all of this, and then I found Noam Chomsky's publication from 1960s called Syntactic Structures, and they teach syntax in GCSE English as well in modern day. So I was a little bit skeptical of using another copyrighted invented language, as well as it may be with mathematics and balance and certain things. A scribe on my channel called Byrne, he's helped me understand the flow, the energy of letters, capitals and straight line letters, capital letters, lowercase letters, curvy letters, the energy going through that, and syntax. And so I'm not an expert in it, but it's truly another world and it's very amazing. All right, but we're sticking to names, and I am commonly known and as my given Christian calling is David. My mother called me David. When she was asked, when she was out and about in the pram, going about getting herself some shopping and whatever else back in the day, when she was asked, what have you always lovely, what have you called him? David is what my mother replied. My given name that my mother gave me is David. My full name is David. When I am asked to give my full name, if I give you my name, will you accept it? So I know we say we're called and we don't have names, but there's a little play on this, because you can just keep it simple, and they can't process legally, civilly, anyway. The system, legal, lawful system, can't process just a given name. They require recognition of the Crown copyrighted state name, you know. And if you just stick to John, David, Steve, Jane, you know, it won't go very far. But correctly, we are called. We don't have names at all. It's best to get out of that, but you can play on it and keep it simple and try it and see how far. Even when the telephone calls and they ask for Mr., Mrs., Jane Doe, Jane Smith, John Doe, etc., you can say, no, this is John. There's a Mr. such and such there. And they can't identify who they want, and they can't proceed with the call. They can't confirm the data. They can't process you at all. You know, if I give you my name, will you accept it? If the answer is yes, in a court-based scenario, then they can also accept the public liabilities associated. My person's name is Mr. David Jeremita. The birth certificate is a security instrument. Bonds are security instruments. Research what security instruments are, and bear in mind there is a Securities Exchange Commission. The foundations are dark and negative. And due process of law is a metaphysical cover phrase for legal concepts such as corporations, which are property rights. These corpses are supernatural entities which do not have a verifiable existence, except to the eyes of a particular faith. Rules of law which reference these legal concepts are theorems, and jurisprudence is a special branch of the science of transcendental nonsense. Occult reference from the Cabal courts are religious temples of such cults. Legal is the undoing of God's law. Foundations of law as follows. We found in the Judeo-Christian Bible, it tells a wonderful story, and it is in fact often referred to as the greatest story ever told. And so it seems to be. You are now about to find out why. In the New Testament of Christian Bible, a provocative and most serious challenge is laid on the whole of Christianity. Since it bears directly upon this show document subject, we will quote it. If Christ be not risen, then our preaching is in vain, and your faith is also in vain, and we are found to be false witnesses of God. And if Christ not be raised, your faith is in vain, ye are yet in your sins. In the New Testament, there is a warning given to all who would build a house. Namely, before you lay the foundation, find out what the foundation itself will rest on. Is it going to be solid rock? Or is it going to be sand? Yeah. The reason is obvious, or said another way, you need to stand under the foundation to get a true understanding. The foundations, let's closely examine the original conceptual foundations of the faith and then decide if Christ not be risen. In order to do that, we must go back not 2,000 years to the birth of Christ, but 8,000 to 10,000 years to the birth of modern man, civilization, which is why we mention pre-Christian information and antiquities. We look at antiquitech and technology from antiquities, and we also look at the antiquities and zero backwards to 10, 12,000 before Common Era, BCE, before Christ, BC. For when one seeks to establish foundations, one must begin at the beginning, not jump in halfway through and hope to get a grasp on it. So remember, when Jesus spoke the truth to his accusers, he would justify himself by quoting law. First, he would quote God's law, and after quoting God's law, he would often quote the accuser's law and use that against them as well. For example, Jesus would say, "Did you never read in the scriptures?" and then quote God's law. We shall not be judged by false Christians of the church of transcendentalism and the worship of Saturnalia within this Satan's carnival. We are true Christians, the generation of Christ consciousness in physical form, and we are exiting Satan's carnival. The trick is to distinguish within the Bible when the law is of nature and God, and when it is of man acting as God and vicar. I'm going to skip that for now because it's quite a long bit, but you can look at that and you can find that in the document itself. I'm on page 28 of 91. Now I'm going to screen share again. This was given to us in our Facebook chat by brother John of the Middleton family. Okay, so I just want to say thank you to all those that are watching now. Thank you for your time, energy and love. Feel free to share this if you're finding it of particular interest or enlightening. I'll leave you a minute to read that while I go back to my settings and change the background again. Where can we go? Might go to Petra. Do like Petra. I'd love to go to Petra. I believe it was a backdrop of Jason and the Argonauts or Sinbad the Sailor. That's not Petra, that's Egypt. Wait. I'm covered up. Yeah, that's Petra, but can't see that because I'm now minimized. You should be looking at person. All right, I'll be with you in a secondo. That's quite good. I love the giants in the background of Ken. Where are we? Person. So there you go. You got a chance to read that. I'm not sure what publication this was from. It could be Black's Law. You'll need to, as I've said at the beginning, check all the various dictionaries, implied meanings and definitions, but you will find similar to this citation. So giving you a long time, you can pause the video and points and stop. So I don't need to hang on it too long. Artificial person, disabled person, fictitious person, interested person, juristic person, see artificial person, legal person, see artificial person, moral person. See, you see where I'm coming from, or where I've got my information and backup from. It's not a belief, it's actual fact and knowledge about these persons. Person in loco parentis, a person acting in the place of a parent person. You could look at that as the school. The school are trustees of our young stars, assets, young bloods, and they would be acting in place of a parent at times in loco parentis. All right, what else do we have for reference? Legal. All right, you can pause that as well. So legal adjective, leg hyphen al, legal. The Gaul, I think it translates from Francais into English. Of, based on, falling within, province of, occupied with, law, required or appointed by law, recognized by law as distinct from equity, lawful, theo, of the Mosaic law, of salvation by works, not faith, fiction, statement which is probably fictitious but admitted as true in order to enable some useful purpose as redress of wrong, etc., to be accomplished. Tender, see tender. So therefore, you see, there's a dictionary. And again, I can't cite and quote that come from Brother John of the Middleton fam in a chat we was having in our Facebook group some weeks ago, and I thought I'd keep them and share them, and they've come in useful for this document and this show. Corporation aggregate, a corporation consisting of several persons. Corporation sole, a corporation which consists of one person and his successors. So we was talking, and John happened to, there's a few of you on the same wavelength. There's not just one person looking at one thing. Quite often what I find within our line of work is the syncretism and the synchronicity. It's quite dazzling sometimes. It really is. All right, we'll stop screen sharing and I will go back to full screen. I will skip that. Commercial intercourse. There is an act which they work very hard to conceive, man, that they represent you while knowing the contrary to be fact. That makes them devils and liars, devil's advocates, lawyers, liars, from the minute they join the council, government, offices and wards of the state. Wardens are mainly but not exclusively found in prison. Prison warden, maybe you heard the term warden before. Estate parish warden, skipper, attention on deck, all rise, admiralty, maritime, again connection, captain. The captain has an office, officers of the office, skull and bones fraternity, 322, pirate flags. Again, the position is in controversy, and any and all organizations of men, women that cover up these facts are also in controversy, including the judiciary, courts and judgmentships. The judiciary are seemingly complicit in the deception and non-disclosure. If one does ask for full disclosure as it relates to the use of dog Latin today called English, American Sign Language, they run out of court, the battlefield. Yes, they do. Oxford and Chicago Manual of Styles for reference. They run out of the court because of the fact in the paperwork they are using various languages. Therefore, they run out of the court for one of two reasons: concealment of the facts and or the right to silence. They are very, very weak and evil. The artificial person you possess is called a citizen, creating a contractual obligation to follow the laws of man's government over God's. The laws of government, Satan, govern only persons, demons, not living men. Not dissimilarly, the rules and regulations of commercial employees only regulate the demon person created as and called the employee, another artificial status of personhood. No man is bound by the rules of any corporation unless they are employed by that corporation, including all of the municipalities and offices of the government, the corporation nation. If you are employed, you are possessing an additional legal fictional status added to a person called an employee. So acts, statutes, legislation, even so much the traffic codes and traffic acts and all of this legislative codified constitution here, non-codified constitution here in England, and the codified constitution in America, and other, codes, penal codes, charged with felonies against. Those are for government employees and employees as such. Never mind, we have jobs and we are classified at that job as an employee. That aside, we're talking law, statute, legal, lawful, and therefore they are only, as I said to the traffic officer, not commercially active. I didn't have to get into what I'm getting into now with you, but that's why that's important to just make a mental note of as well. Not employee in the traditional sense of working for a company. Our person, our Crown-owned, state-owned, Crown copyrighted name can be viewed as a franchise then of the bigger company, which is the Crown State, nation state, the Crown of London, run for, the main office, and then your certified persons could be looked at as subsidiary companies. A way to explain that would be the persons are employees of the government, and they are like when any fast food restaurant chain wants to make franchises, and you can buy a shop, restaurant, and have that company's name, and use it and trade as that company, but you're not that company. You've bought into it to operate as it, you see. So I hope that made some kind of common sense for you. Possession. I've got a bit about possession and property and goods and employment, the act of employing or using, and references from dictionaries there. I'm going to skip that because that's a lot. Engage, broken down there. We are aware of the instruments of person and personage, aka legal personality, for UK and English agreements within churches and courts. I hope you are by now, and from this video presentation and show, and when you can finally get this document, you will be. So man as a certified public legal person and a legal natural person, not so natural as one might think. Then we can look at in equity and trust positions of an equity acts in personam, the settlor, natural person with his or her I've got an error there, with his or her two legal persons under human rights international codes, UNIDROIT, LIBA codes, plus relevant international political and religious accords, covenants and treaties to include. You are free to select how to perform. One must not be told how to perform. Performance is required to settle the controversy. Performances are played by actors with titles. Actors have troops. Military has troops. Remember, the world is a stage. Armies are judged upon their performance. Reality is but an illusion within this divine comedy of life. Man moves consciously from public legal trustee and adjusts the following to move back to the tree as a branch and ending all civil activities, save an original trust with the creator. Your status is from private. Your standing will be dependent on what jurisdiction and capacity or jurisdiction you're in. So settlor, grantor, somewhat a creditor, agent, principal, or even just natural, authentic woman, flesh and blood. Your capacity, is going from legal to law and the higher law, universal cosmic law. So there's a progression of the journey, and your capacity as a man means that you can't be legally charged. You know, the capacity from legal to lawful is your process. You're unable to be legally charged, so to speak, because man does not have the legal capacity to be charged. Only persons do. Let us look at the travelling communities that do not register an offspring. How do the agents of the Crown and the police enforcers deal with these travelling communities? They often are unable to recognise these communities. Now, why is that? Can you see? Can you think for a moment? They haven't got birth certificates and registration. They haven't bowed down and obeyed and complied and are in a private capacity. They're not recognised like the Crown and the officers and the state and the lords and the Queen and all of this, papacy, Papa's Crowns of London and crowns on Elizabeth's head, all of the state conglomerate cannot see legally. They are outlaws, to be fair. When I say outlaws, I mean they're outside of the common laws of them. They reside on the landmass England and Wales in a private capacity as flesh and blood beings, and they don't have interest. And you know, for that, in communities are somewhat in across the pond. The Mormons, things like this, you know, certain faiths, certain communities rather well, and I'll rest my case there. So you need to look at the implementation of the instrumentation. This is key to elevate into equity and private, not necessarily the highest, but privacy and trusts are the key out of this to some extent, but they're not the final stop. As a Christian conscientious objector in the past, you know, just a conscientious objector to the war, we're unable, you know, under our belief, our faith, to claim the Father's name in vain. You know, give me your name. You know, the Father's name is the surname. Don't take the Father's. More codified dealings within these passages of chapter and verse that interpret in any which way you want. But when you know the London Inner City Templars Law Society is based and referenced on with biblical precepts, why wouldn't we? You know, you'd be a fool, as I said about Aristotle at the beginning of this, you know, you're a fool to ignore it. So you don't claim the name in vain, and you do not volunteer to be a person governed under Westminster statutory codes that are mandated upon the persons, aka sinners, debtors and trustees. You know, grantor of dominion, no respecter of person. God equals man, ergo man is no respecter of persons. Have I not said that ye are all God? Not in, I'll put Psalms there, but I believe it will be the 82nd Psalm or somewhere in Psalms. I've referenced that in previous videos and chats with you. Have I have said this, but it's written in Psalms, and Jesus telling the masses, have I not said ye are all gods? So we're all equal. Equality is paramount. All equal, made in the image of the Creator. You know, it's just, I can't put it any simpler without trying to be called pagan or you know, an idiot or a sovereign citizen free man. This video, this presentation, it's taken a lot of constructing. We're on page 3591. It's 10 o'clock. I started at 8:30, 9:30, so 2.5 hours in. This may have to be in 2 parts. We will see. So trusts legal within the United Kingdom. We found misconstrued relationships within them. Not all trusts have misconstrued relationships, but generally trusts, misconstrued relationships, unconscionable actions, statutory, implied, constructed, resulting trusts, indentured trusts. It's referenced in the Bible about Moses leading the indentured slaves out of Egypt. Okay, so unconscionable actions, unconscionably done. When we find implied, statutory, construct, resulting, indentured trusts, these legal trusts here, they're unconscionably done, and they're found to have misconstrued in them, with them, us in them. I've got references to Trustee Act 2000, legal persons and legislative ecclesia, bulla papils of the papal crown, Catholic Roman doctrine, canons, uniform code, uniform commercial code, admiralty and maritime. For a private express trust to be valid, we look at the 3 certainties that must be met. You know, the 3 certainties: the certainty of intention, certainty of objects, and the certainty of subject matter. And you are free to research night versus night. Okay, so all trusts need to be registered, David. Well, okay, secret trusts and private express trusts don't. And for a private express trust to be valid, that's done verbally, expressed verbally. The 3 certainties must be met. And for you to go and find a case in point reference in English law, English common law, you will search night versus night. So to express a trust without court judge paperwork or even mentioning the word trust, without registering it, you need to satisfy the 3 certainties, and you can find that in case in point reference night versus night. So not all trusts need to be registered. And the government made things and put things on its website, but law, precedents, case law, maxims, and landmark cases say otherwise. It depends what's in and what jurisdiction and what type of trust you've got to whether or not it needs to be registered, what type of trust you're expressing. All right. Remember the original naked trust first in the book of Genesis. Okay, the first book of Moses written in, all right, naked, Adam and Eve, tree, good and evil, coming back, fig leaf placed there, broken the trust. One who seeks equity must do equity. You know, equity will not aid a volunteer. Do not volunteer any information or forms to the beast, God of all things, goat, mon-eye, transgressions, moon-eye. You can forms and certain things if you deem it a bit to you, but I'll expand on equity does not aid a volunteer. Extensive publications that I can get to you, but now is not the time. You can look at becoming an ambassador or diplomat without paying £35 to get certain documents and registered with companies. You can do as you please, but you can look at witnesses for Christ Jesus. You know, you can look at trying to system like other religions and faiths that are recognized into legal, financial, and UK courts. I am of this realm, plain. I play no part in it, of it. How can we be a name? You know, we are a party, a tripart, EYE, consciousness, soul endowed with the spirit of the creator and with the Holy Ghost. I lay down the beliefs and enter unto facts, chauta prima facie. So the UK or GB is a corporation and not a country. Remember, your person is your company. You're doing business as them. You are not them, unless you deem it a benefit to go in and claim the title. That's why the legal crown agent officers and courts address me, for instance, as sir. Sir is an entitlement, and I never choose to. Sir, I would say, please don't call me sir. Don't address me as sir. Just call me David. I am David. I am called David. I am not a sir. I'm not a Mr. I'm not a Mr. Man. What does sir entail? You know, riddle me this. Why sir? Kind of giving you the answer there, but that's what the text of publication is written. Now understand, you know, why the legal profession tried to trick us into accepting these titles and names. You know, I remark, we are not the defendant, David and DNA Jeremita. I am not a name. I am called David, son of Jeremita. How can I be a name? There is simply no need to go and register a legal name as an all caps business. Those that create it own it. Those that create the name own it. Correct name is not ours to use in that respect. Our first comment. You know, let us continue. You must be careful of the company that you keep. Is also a military term. Make sure that you have a healthy interest and mind your own business as well. Interest and business, financial terms. If you are living together as common man and wife, then you may say he or she is my partner. Partner is a business term. Are you seeing the nature of our D-based English language now, how corrupt, misleading English, hence why it is of the utmost importance to word carefully and to specify for the purpose of clarity, avoidances of doubt, the language one is commanding, commanding, officer commanding, more, and the implied meanings and language definition, Oxford Editions Dictionary, is enough. It all stems from the Phoenicians, the phonetic text, scripts, and the Hebraic text of Jewish definitions, deaf Phoenicians. Hence why a judge, robe, banker may raise their voice and shout you. They are under the impression that one cannot hear them. The defendant, DEF, deaf, defendant, Moss deaf. My defendant, so Langu age translates into monster of all ages. In the end times, man will be confused and the days will grow shorter and darker. Darkness shall befall mankind and realm. It is written, is this not just in the Bible and in Revelations and within the Vatican and depicted within architecture? Where have we heard this before? What does the Bible's end time prophecy remind me of? Have you heard of an Egyptian demon, also known as Apep, Apophis, an evil snake demon who tries to eat? It takes some swallowing. He is a great serpent who attempts to swallow light for a light snack, thriving on chaos and confusion. He lives in the darkness of the underworld and lies in wait for Ra, the sun god, to appear each evening. Stay frosty, son. Are we still at war? Trade and Commerce, United Kingdom Corporation. So on the 22nd of December, October 1914, Mr. Craven Ellis asked the president of the Board of Trade whether the formation by the government of the United Kingdom Corporation is only a wartime measure, and he will give assurance that the corporation will be wound up immediately after hostilities cease